No, it'd be like if we had Aditi waiting in the queue and you decided to pull up a graphic instead of pulling Aditi. I told you when you already had
That is
Aditi.
egregious.
What's
It's
up, Aditi?
egregious. Mike, that was phenomenal.
Thank you.
That was
Aditi
phenomenal.
never slips to the second round.
Sorry, I just had to make that point.
First round pick only.
In my own head, let's be honest. Although that was, you know what? It's funny. That's what we did when we were announcing, because the Super Bowl is back in Arizona. It was the Super Bowl in Arizona that Patriots Seahawks won, where of course the ball should have been run instead of thrown, but it was thrown. And anyway, I was pregnant with my son, my first then, and that's the way that we announced that we were pregnant. We said announcing our very first, our number 1 overall draft pick, or our first draft pick. Something.
That's kind of dope.
Something.
That's kind of dope.
That is really cool. Very creative.
Is he worth the max deal yet? He's getting the max deal?
Yeah.
He's on his second contract.
Right now, the kid needs to learn how to throw the ball away and live to see another down and know that the game isn't over until it's over, because Madden is making me crazy. He just got it. He just got his uncle's Xbox at Christmas, and he got his first thing of Madden. He is obsessed, except he whines and he whines and he whines. And if I could tell you how many times I've tried to explain to him, do you think that when Josh Allen throws an interception, he goes into the tank? No, he doesn't. He goes to the sideline, he calms down, and he comes back. But for some reason, the 7-year-old can't get that.
Yeah, I'm not sure 7-year-old Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or anybody got it. At 7 years old, the last play is the last play of your life. You know, that's how it goes. You know what's
really funny is that last week my husband was playing him, and for whatever reason, my husband was the Panthers. This is actually a great story. My daughter, every time she's around, the 3-year-old, insists that my husband be the Browns because, as you know, she was born in Cleveland, and her brother has trained her to say that she is a Browns fan. And my poor Steelers fan husband is constantly playing the Browns and trying to win with the Browns. But anyway, last week, Matt plays with the Panthers, and he says to Nico, he goes, Nico, I'm about to introduce you to Christian McCaffrey.
Oh my
And
gosh.
First play, McCaffrey takes it like 90 yards to the house. And then we're watching the game this weekend, and McCaffrey had a really nice run. And I said to Nico, I'm like, see, that's the guy that Daddy said he was introducing you to. But the poor kid was really confused by the change in uniform. He's like, wait a minute.
He's a cheater. Your son, if you're listening to this, tell them to turn the internet on and get updated rosters.
Yeah,
Christian
why is he still on
McCaffrey is no
Carolina?
longer on the Carolina Panthers. That touchdown is illegal.
Gee, we can't do the internet thing. I don't want to play with like, random strangers and all that. Yeah,
That's a good idea, yeah. Keep it out of your house as long as
But
you
they still
can.
have the Matt Rule playbook, so it's kind of a wash.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mikey, what was that?
I said they may have McCaffrey, but they still have the Matt Rule playbook, so it's kind of a wash.
That is a wash.
It is.
And Baker's the quarterback.
Yeah. This is
If Bull's not here, someone had to say it. Bull would have jumped. Bull would have kind of.
Baker!
Speaking
There
of
you
Bull,
go.
Aditi, I know you hopped in. We were doing our offensive report cards for the Browns. Bull's not here, but he still sent us in a report card. Do you want to grade Bull's report card?
Yes.
Of the Browns?
We can, but you know, these guys were talking about something that I do want to get back to. So go ahead, let's start with Bull, and then we'll get back to
this
what
is Bull's, yeah.
Jason
No one has
did
seen
with
this
Tucker.
yet. Aditi, you can grade Bull's report card. How do you think Bull did grading the Browns?
It's actually
it's hard to
frighteningly
quibble,
close to mine.
right? I think it's fair. I almost would, yeah. I mean, you play with who you have, so it's not like you can give an incomplete in any way.
Yeah.
It's almost identical to mine, which is very scary.
I thought it was close to mine.
Bull and I never agree
I think it's fair. I think it's very fair. So you're not grading on a curve. You don't get bonus points for having a major change partway through the season, 2/3 of the way through the season. So, yeah, I mean, how could you look at that offense and say, oh, it was incredibly creative? Of course, that's the thing about creativity. When it works, it's creative. When it's not, it's ill-advised and stupid. But
we have the benefit of the results. Yeah.
Would have gotten a higher grade if it was more consistently used. I mean, how many times did they abandon the run? I'm thinking of that Christmas Eve game.
There you go.
You know, where third and short and fourth and short, and you're throwing instead of running. So, yeah, I mean, I can't disagree. You keep keeping my face on the screen. You should put the, report card on the screen.
No, we want to see your face.
Aditi, we have substitute director Mike in, so this is his first interview with you. And, you're already
Mike, I don't
calling
like
out.
being on camera that much. You know, I've got these qualms about that. There you go.
Now,
Wouldn't
You're
we
on
all
camera
rather
all
see
the
Bull's
time.
face?
You work for a TV station.
Now, Aditi,
Yeah, that is true.
we can
Although,
go to this, though.
What's so funny as you say that, Jason, I'm on camera doing game broadcasts, which are such a bigger deal than like 1 p.m. on a Wednesday on a cable channel.
Yeah.
So many more people are watching you doing a game broadcast. But as the sideline reporter, your face is rarely shown.
Right.
You
Right
know,
about
like
that.
I'm on camera maybe 3 times.
Right.
It's usually just my voice, which is why I have gotten back to those voice lessons. Very, very key, those voice lessons, let me tell you.
Do you take now? Bull was asked this at the beginning of the season, and we told him not to jump off the roof with this, but he did. He said he would take the Browns for 3 years over the Steelers for 3 years. At the end of this year, would you take the Browns next 3 years or the Steelers next 3 years?
Oh, at the end. I thought you said that he said that at the start of the season.
Well, he did at the start, and we told him the Steelers never really are trash. He's like, the Steelers are done. They'll come
So
in
he's
last
already
place.
in a 2-game hole
Yeah.
moving
Yeah.
forward for the next 2
Yeah,
seasons.
yeah.
So let's just do it for the next 2 years, Aditi. Are you taking the Steelers or the Browns for the next 2 years moving forward?
Oh, goodness, guys.
I know, that's tough.
Questions
I
on a
expect
Tuesday.
the defense. Well, here's the thing. I expect the defense to be significantly improved under Jim Shorts. I think that he's exactly what that team needs in some ways. Andrew Berry is a guy that I believe in implicitly in terms of putting together a team and what he's doing. So I also expect to see significant improvement from Deshaun Watson when he gets a whole off season and a whole season and all of that time in. You know, one of the things that I'll say about your commentary in there desperately being a need for a receiver in the middle of the field. No, you just need consistent guys. Like the best receivers can go all over the field. Antonio Brown could catch the ball on a post or a go. He could also do the dirty work in the middle. And when Antonio Brown was killing it, there was a year when Antonio was doubled and tripled and Juju was open and Juju caught every ball that still came his way. I'm using the Steelers obviously just because we were talking about them, but you need that. You know, Jarvis Landry was a guy that was very, very reliable, very consistent. So it's not so much that you need a person, you need guys that you can count on. David Njoku, he did have a good year, but there were a couple balls late in the season where it was like, come on now. You're paid that kind of money to never drop a ball like that. Never. And I love the highlight catches. Of course, you love that one right there. But sometimes it's just about making the easy catch too. In any case, so let's go back to this. So the Browns, I don't think that they stay stagnant by any means. I think that they improve. The thing with the Steelers is that they have a very interesting situation at offensive coordinator on their hands. Mm-hmm. So it is very well known that the offensive coordinator was not particularly, I don't know what the right word is.
He wasn't popular.
Let's just say this. We know that players had gone to Mike Tomlin and to the general manager, Omar Khan, and requested some sort of change, that there wasn't a lot of creativity in what the offensive coordinator was doing. There isn't a huge track record of what he has been able to do. Despite all of that, because he has a year left on his contract, team president and owner Art Rooney decided to bring him back. How does that all play out next year? When the coordinator knows that players have gone and requested change, when the players have really when he's lost some players, how do you get them back? And what is the offense able to do? Do I expect Kenny Pickett to be better? Yes. We saw immense growth from Kenny Pickett. He's got a great quarterbacks coach. He's got a great private coach. He's got the entire makeup that you want. Does he have necessarily all the same natural skill that Deshaun Watson does? I don't know, but I like Kenny Pickett a lot. But what that offense can do, I'm not so sure. Because I think that creativity and that design really does matter in this day and age. And defensively, it took a while for the Steelers to get going. They can't, and yes, TJ Watt being hurt was a part of that, but they can't afford to do that again. I don't know. I also think the Ravens quarterback situation is really fascinating as well. So it's not like I'm ready to sit here and just anoint the Ravens automatically. Coming into this year, I did expect them to be at the top with the Bengals. I think that there's some interesting questions there as well. I'm not answering. I'm hedging. I'm sort of talking aloud. In your window into my brain.
See, I told you. I was waiting on it. I was waiting on the hedge.
I don't know. Do you feel like it's a snap decision? Like you can say right now,
Steelers.
oh yeah, the Browns will
Steelers.
definitely be better.
I don't know how you ever go against the Steelers.
History.
Yeah.
I mean, history. And it's not like we have like a 5-year body of history or a 10-year body of history or a 20-year body of history.
We have a 50-year.
Yeah,
We have
but
a
Jay, that's
50-year
one
body
of
of
the big
history.
problems. Guys, that's one of the main problems with the Steelers is that they sit here and they sit on their history, but really, what? Their history?
It's culture.
For the last decade?
Aditi, but we've talked
history,
about
look.
that. The culture kept them. Were the Browns better than them this year? I thought they were. I just did. I thought they were a better team.
You're right that the culture makes a huge difference. And we have seen this with a team like the Jaguars, who I know I talked about a few weeks ago. Culture does mean everything. And Mike Tomlin did not have to establish a culture.
No,
but
it was
I
there.
think that the standard, one of his favorite lines is the standard is the standard. The standard has gone from here to here. Okay, like middling is not, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, the standard is supposed to be competing for a Lombardi trophy. Having a winning record, like, okay, yeah, all right,
I know,
great.
but we're
So you're
comparing.
9-8.
We're not comparing
All
the
right.
Steelers to the Chiefs right now. We're comparing them to the Browns. And where their standard may have gone from Lombardi to 500, the Browns has
The Browns
been
can't get
here
their shoes on the right feet.
and here and here
Yeah.
and here. And we have 1 year here, and then we're right back down here and here.
Look,
So-
but I've said this before, and I'll say it once again. This is why a guy like Jarvis Landry was so necessary to the ecosystem of that locker room.
Yes, I couldn't agree
when
more.
you don't have an established culture of win at all costs, we are never out of it. This is so important, and not that I'm saying that it's not important to those players, but if you don't have that established identity, then you need that alpha in that locker room who just whips everybody's, you know what.
Yes.
To
Yes,
shoot.
yes, yes.
Although I think online we can say whatever we want to say, right? But
We can.
anyway, you need that guy that says, I don't care if you're on half a leg, you get out there on that half a leg. You know,
I agree.
and look, the Browns aren't the only team that had this trouble. Look at what Patrick Mahomes did 2 weeks ago with that high ankle sprain, yelling at his coach, we'll deal with it at halftime. No way, I'm getting back in that game. Versus Lamar Jackson, whose own teammates called him out. Like, Mike Vick called out Lamar Jackson and said, slap a brace on it and let's go. It's the playoffs. When you have a guy like Sammy Watkins saying to Lamar Jackson, we have a chance to make some noise, get back in there. And that's just not who Lamar is. That is who Patrick Mahomes is. Who on the Browns is like that? You need that person in there to push people to see it's this or nothing. This is our one chance. This is the last time that this group is going to be together. This is the last opportunity we have, the one in front of us, because nothing else is guaranteed. And there just wasn't that guy.
Right. And
There isn't that guy.
But that's why the Steelers always have 3 of those guys.
Keep
5 of those guys. They recognize them,
Yep.
and when they recognize them, guess what? They don't let
They
them
hold
get
on to
away
them.
for less money.
Yep.
And the
Exactly.
Browns historically have. And
Right.
you know, you use Jarvis Landry. There are other examples through the years of guys that they absolutely should have kept, even if they're on the downside of their cycle and they're getting older and less productive. I don't care. For what Jarvis Landry ended up signing for with the Saints for, and I understand that he was hurt, but even if he's hurt, he's still a presence in that locker room. He's still a presence at training camp. He's still helping drill the mindset into these young Perrion Winfreys.
You're teaching professionalism. You're teaching how you go about doing your job. And let's not everybody who's old, yes, sometimes you lose a little on your fastball, but you figure out other ways to get guys out. And as you talk about the Steelers, it makes me think of James Harrison, who ultimately did work his way out of Pittsburgh and whatever. But prior to that, James Harrison was most definitely past his prime when the Steelers are playing a playoff game in Kansas City. And it was just as tough sledding as could be. They couldn't punch it in the end zone. Le'Veon Bell ran for crazy. It was all these field goals, whatever. But it comes down to the very end of the game. James Harrison does not have the speed. He does not have the moves. He does not have the brute force he once did. But he is wily enough this many years into his career that he goads Eric Fisher, the Chiefs' left tackle, into an unbelievably dumb penalty that wins the Steelers the game. And sometimes that's what you need. It's like watching Pedro Martinez at the end of his career with the Mets. He couldn't throw the same fastball. but he was still striking guys out. And not only that, Pedro was that personality in that clubhouse. He was that guy that rallied that team, that took on Mike Lupica once. I mean, like, this is all... you need a guy like that. And when you're the Browns, you even more need a guy like that. Because, to your point, Jay, there is no established culture of playoffs or bust. In fact, it's sometimes the opposite.
You realize you just made my point of why I picked the Steelers, though. I mean, that's why.
So, you like the Steelers the next
when all
2 years.
when all things are equal,
Like the Steelers.
I'm just going to go with the team that has the better track record. If I'm betting ponies, and I've got one pony that's always in the top 3, and I've got another one that's never in the top 3, that's the easiest betting slip I'll ever fill out. I'm just going to bet on history. And in this case, unfortunately, the history is on the wrong side for the Browns. It's on the right side for the Steelers. I did actually think when Bull sat there, when they were 4-8 or whatever they were, and Bull was yelling and screaming that the Steelers, finally, are you going to admit now that I was right, Aditi? They're finally going to finish below 500. And I actually thought, you know what?
He might got this
I've
one.
been on the other side for the entire time, but he might finally, look, a broke clock is right twice a day.
Yeah.
And so if you predicted enough years in a row, you're going to finally get it right. And I thought when he made that prediction, I'm like, yeah, I don't see how they finish 9-8 this year. Well, I'll be damned. They finished 9-8. You know why? Because they got those dogs in the locker room. They've got that culture in the trophy case. And that's why the Browns finished 7-10. And that's why the Steelers, who I don't think had the talent the Browns did, finished 9-8.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I've said it before. On Sundays, TJ Watt is the scariest person. You do not want to disappoint him. If he's your teammate, you do not want him on your tail. You do not want him upset with you, and you most definitely don't want to disappoint him. As great of a player as Myles Garrett is, Myles Garrett just doesn't inspire that same, I hate to call it fear, but lack of a better word, that same drive. He's just not that same guy. So get somebody else who is. Doesn't always have to be your best player.
I agree.
Can I hijack this for a second and go completely off topic since it's January and we have nothing else to talk about? When you talk about the Ravens, this came up last week, and I don't know if it's the day we had you on or not, and Brad brought up like a Dak for Lamar Jackson type trade between Dallas and Baltimore, and we kind of had some fun with it. But I got to thinking about it and sort of was talking through it. I wonder do you think Baltimore, it's specific to Lamar, or if they have the mindset that they don't want to invest that heavily in a quarterback? Because I said they would never do that trade because if they wanted to pay Dak that much, they would just give it to Lamar. So are we ever going to get to a point, I guess maybe what I'm getting at, and this could be really stupid, and if it is, tell me, where teams say, we can't have one player taking up that much cap space, even if it's a quarterback, because all these teams going to Super Bowls are doing it with quarterbacks on rookie scale contracts?
Yeah, it is a very interesting point, right? And we did talk about this last week, actually, Jason, when we were talking about the Bengals. And I was like, look, they are in a moment where they've got all these guys on rookie deals, and that's not going to last forever. But the Ravens, let me just say this. I don't think it has anything to do with not being willing to pay a quarterback. They paid Joe Flacco. And I know for a fact they were ready to pay Lamar Jackson. He's just incredibly difficult to negotiate with because he doesn't have an agent. It's negotiating with him. And there is this issue of the guaranteed money that Deshaun Watson was given, and certain people feeling like, well, if Deshaun Watson gets that much guaranteed money, my entire contract should be guaranteed as well. And there is some fear in that when you look at a guy like Russell Wilson, who just completely fell off the cliff, when you look at Lamar Jackson, who hasn't been able to stay healthy. And so it's not at all about not wanting to pay him. And I absolutely believe that teams recognize the single most important player is the quarterback, and he does need to take an outsized share of your cap, and that the difference in getting to the next level versus not is how elite your quarterback is and how much your quarterback inspires and gets others around him to play better. That is worth paying for. I don't think that is it. And I also, where you're right, Jason, that teams are willing to let a veteran receiver go, perhaps, because they know that there's so much wide receiver talent in the college game that is very ready to come and adjust on this level. I don't think that there's as much confidence when it comes to the quarterbacks that this guy will definitely, absolutely be a success on the NFL level.
It's hard because go ahead.
No, that's it. I mean, for instance, I know that I was there when Josh Allen was drafted, and I've had many, many, many conversations with Brandon Breen prior to his drafting, after his drafting, and in the 5 or 6 whatever years it has been since. I know that he loved Josh Allen. There's no way that he would sit here and say, oh, I 100% knew that he was going to be a perennial Pro Bowler and an MVP candidate. You just never know. You really don't.
It's hard. Like, look at the Colts have been chasing a quarterback for years. And when you have one, you do everything you can. You have to hold on to him. Obviously, the Browns have been fruitless for 20 years in trying to find one. But where's the line in how much? I mean, we're going to find it out in Cleveland when Deshaun starts taking up $55 million on the cap. At what point is it too much that I don't know. I can't be contradictory because I'm the one that said if you have the quarterback, you always have a chance.
Fair. It's not stupid at all.
But you know what? You just
three
said
of the
something
4 quarterbacks in the conference championship game were on rookie deals.
Yeah, but
teams.
You know what, Jay? Really quickly, Jason, you said something very, very interesting. You said, Jason, that the Browns have never found one. Maybe part of it is that they have never developed one either. Because I know Brandon Beane liked Baker Mayfield too. Is Baker Mayfield a different quarterback today if he doesn't have 4 head coaches and 4 offensive coordinators in his time in Cleveland, whatever that number is?
Yeah.
But we know that David Carr is a different quarterback if he doesn't play behind that line. Are Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen different guys if they are in different clubs, if they go into stability, if they go into good coaching? So for the Browns, it's not only about finding them, because Baker was indeed extremely liked by a lot of teams and had a lot of tools. But there is no way that you can say the Browns set him up for success by the complete lack of consistency and development that they gave him. Complete lack of offense. Deshaun Kaiser was a very talented young man. I know he wasn't a high draft pick, but you think Hugh Jackson putting him in and pulling him out, putting him in, pulling him out, you think that is good for a rookie quarterback?
I mean, he was a second-round pick. Jalen Hurts was a second-round pick.
Yeah.
And look at where Jalen Hurts is when he has consistency for the first time in his career.
Yeah.
This is the first time that Jalen Hurts has had the same offensive coordinator for 2 years running since he was in high school and his father was his coach.
Well, Baker's never
Shane
had that.
Steichen, and I've used this example with you because Nick Sirianni, who is going to the Super Bowl in year 2, Nick Sirianni last year as a first-year head coach, at some point in the middle of the season said, you know what, I need to coach the whole team. And he gave up the play calling duties to Shane Steichen. Now, Shane Steichen consistently has been Jalen's guy. Last year, all of this year, and look at how Jalen Hurts has blossomed.
Yeah, consistency.
I mean, look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We talk about Deshaun Watson's contract. Is Joe Burrow the realistic person that could potentially push to get the fully guaranteed deal?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
yes.
I don't think it's Lamar Jackson. I think it's him.
I don't think Joe Burrow. Look, I don't think Joe Burrow is going to sign. And this is just like whatever. I'm saying this right now, and this is what I feel. I don't think he's signing a 10-year mega guaranteed contract. I think he's signing a shorter guaranteed contract because he knows the way quarterback salaries are skyrocketing. He's betting on himself, and he's thinking, okay, well, if this is what the quarterback, if the number is 50 million right now, well, in 4 years, it might be 75 million. So if I sign for the 50 million a year right now, it's entirely guaranteed. I'm set for life. My kids are set for life. My grandkids are set for life. And 4 years from now, I'll be worth even more, as opposed to being locked into a deal for 10 years.
Yeah, it's smart. Yeah, I mean, I think the long term for a quarterback is always shaky because that position historically has skyrocketed more than any other.
Burrow is the most fascinating one to me of all of these young quarterbacks that we're talking about.
Because he has the skill set.
Well, not only that, he has the talent around him that they're not going to be able to keep if he signs the type of deal that we're talking about. Is he willing to take $10 million less,
like Brady did,
to keep all of these receivers? Yeah, I mean, I'm as capitalistic as they come. Get every dollar you can. But at the same time, it may end up costing you Jamar Chase, or it may end up costing you T. Higgins.
Right,
Which would you rather?
Which was a calculation that Josh Allen made a year ago, recognizing, okay, I am going to get what's fair to me, but I need to make sure that I have enough tools around me. And he didn't this past year. He needed a number two receiver.
Another one. He needed another one.
No disrespect to Gabe Davis, but he needed something more beyond Stephon Diggs. They needed to be able to run the ball better. I will say this about Joe Burrow. He is a very, very smart agent. His agent, Brian Ayral, he's like the Jerry Maguire. He only has the best. You know, he's got Aaron Donald. He's got Joe Burrow. This is not like a Drew Rosenhaus who has 1,000 clients and everybody gets only a little piece of him. So this is going to most certainly be a very, very interesting negotiation, I would say that. I do think that Joe Burrow cares about winning more than he does anything else. I do think that Joe Burrow is very, very smart. And I think that there is a piece of him that knows and recognizes the way Tom Brady made it work and how much money Tom Brady made off the field. And Joe Burrow certainly, I'm sure, Joe Shiesty, Joe Cool, Joe this, his fashion, the way that he takes what he wears to the stadium. He knows that he can make more money. And the best way to make money, to be desired as a pitchman, is by winning. To win, you need pieces like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and a great run game around you.
It's the Brady model.
Again, let's see.
And that's how you win 7. You might win 1, you might win 2, maybe 3.
And now because
but
he
if
took
you
less,
get greedy, you're going to cap out at 3 because
right.
your team is hamstrung. There's not enough dollars to spread around. Aditi, great points. Always great conversation. Thanks for showing us your face for as long as you did on this episode of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And we'll see you next week.
All right, guys. Have fun.